We spent some time talking about building your speech, and it's very important to organize your speech properly if you're going to be successful at public speaking. Your organization and your words matter. Another consideration is your nonverbal communication. I took just 1 minute and wrote down 10 nonverbal communication behaviors that might impact nearly any speech. There are no doubt more than 10, but that's enough to get us started and make the point. I'll put the first 5 on this next slide. The first 5 nonverbal behaviors include position, location, posture, dress, and movement. Starting from the top of the list, the first item is position. Sitting or standing says a lot about the formality of the situation. Usually you'll be on your feet when you give a speech, but sitting down is probably a bit friendlier. I would have started sitting down, but the setup here didn't allow that, so you'll just have to imagine it. Now that I'm standing, the next nonverbal message is about location. Where do I stand? Behind the podium sends one message. Standing beside it sends yet another. The second message is a little friendlier, since there's not a barrier between me and the audience. Once I've decided where I'm going to stand, I need to decide how I'm going to stand. In other words, my posture says something about how interested I am in my topic. If I'm not interested in my speech, why should my audience be interested? Here's a good opportunity to address the dress question. Is how you dress a nonverbal behavior? Of course it is. While there's no one correct way to stand or dress, the topic, the audience, and the situation dictate that as a speaker, you must pay attention to them. Next is movement. What happens when I move? Chances are your eyes are going to move with me. Interestingly, I can get much the same reaction from you with a slight movement of my head. Now, your movement should be purposeful and not just random, but movement enhances your speech, especially a lengthy one. Moving on to the next slide, we'll discuss 5 more nonverbal behaviors. Let's talk about your mouth. Words come out of your mouth, but it also communicates nonverbally. How? Well, with a smile, a frown, or heaven forbid, a yawn. People look at your mouth when you talk. Please don't chew gum. Please don't chew gum. Please don't chew gum. While we're talking about your mouth, let's also talk about your voice. 3 items on my list of nonverbal behaviors concern your voice. Now let's be clear, these 3 issues are nonverbal even though they are voice related. First is how loudly you speak or volume. Usually being too loud is not an issue, but sometimes being too soft can be. Try to project your voice so that the person farthest away from you in the room can hear you clearly. In a big room, you may need a microphone. If you use one, be sure to do a sound check before you start and speak directly into it. Next is the speed with which you speak. Most of us speak about 150 words per minute. There is some variation in speech rate depending upon the topic, audience, situation, and a host of other issues. You can determine the speech rate by using an online calculator or just divide the number of words in a speech by the number of minutes it takes to deliver it. Sometimes when we get nervous, we might begin to speak faster without realizing it. So try to monitor yourself for rate. The last issue with your voice that I will mention is emotion. Think of an emotion like sadness. How would you use your voice to express that emotion? It might be hard to describe, but I know you know how to do it. You probably would speak a little softer, a little slower, and maybe a little lower. When it comes to expressing emotions nonverbally, however, you will most likely use more than your voice, but also facial expressions, posture, and body movements. Now, the last item on the list of 10 is your eyes. Interestingly, your eyes are related to your body movements. You can not only direct the audience's attention by moving your body or your head, but also with your eyes. Actually, some of your most powerful movements may be done with a stare, or a glance, or a wink of the eye. One important point about nonverbal communication is while much of it is natural and unplanned, you can improve almost any public speech by considering where to incorporate meaningful nonverbal communication behaviors into your remarks. A second tip is to practice them until they appear natural and unplanned to your audience.